What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, we got to talk about the Wonder Woman game yet again. It's that time of the year, my friends. We got a gaming announcement season ahead of us, and it makes May and it makes June extremely exciting. So what we're here to talk about is Wonder Woman going to be shown off at Summer Game Fest. Now, we're about a month out. I think June 7th maybe is the date for it. I'm getting very excited. I feel like it has potential to be very good just because there's so many, specifically fall games, that we don't really have either a ton of info on or release dates. So I think you can start to really fill up the next, really the second half of the year, the next 6 months through Jeff Keighley's show. Wonder Woman, in my opinion, really needs to make an appearance. It needs to make an appearance for a few different reasons. But I'm happy I made this video now because we actually have to throw in one other wrench into the equation. And it's that dang Batman VR game. Now, like I said in that video, and I'm sticking with my, opinion on it, I really don't think it would be all that bad. I know there's a lot of people dunking on it, and I think you have every right to dunk on it, but I actually think that game could be quite good. Okay, it's a talented team. They've made a lot of games in the past, all that jazz. We're not here to talk about that. But what I do want to talk about is, does that mess things up? Because if you asked me a week ago if Wonder Woman was going to be at Summer Game Fest, I would tell you, look, you never know for sure, but I would give it, in my opinion, probably a higher than like a 50-50. I would say maybe even a little bit more than that. But because they're already doing now, and it's confirmed, right? You're going to get more of that Batman game. Number one, does that set kind of an expectation of the level of games at Summer Game Fest? Well, God, I hope not. Again, I don't think it's going to be a bad game, but VR is, number one, not for everybody. And number two, it is lower. Like, many people don't have these systems. Many people don't have these games. They're not that big in the grand scheme of things. So, if that sets the expectation level of what we're going to get, oh my God, I want a Kingdom Hearts 4, I want Wonder Woman. I know I'm not going to get everything that I want, but okay, do I have to tone down my expectations or my wish list, right? Because I don't think they're all that crazy, but if a VR game is the best we're getting, I don't know if we're going to get anything else, right? I mean, I really do think that's a serious thing to talk about, specifically with Wonder Woman, because it sets a bar, and then it also sets, okay, well, you're doing a DC game. And so, again, like the natural and next question is, would you do two of them? Now, like, Jeff Keighley is not a stranger to DC games. Jeff Keighley is not a stranger to Wonder Woman. Jeff Keighley is the place that showed Wonder, you know what I mean? So is it possible that it's there? It certainly is. And I mentioned in the beginning about the fall in the next 6 months. A thing that does kind of mess it up is, like, if that is the theme, and it probably could be. I know Gamescom tends to be, like, upcoming. Sometimes he'll split it, right? Summer Game Fest is sometimes looking to the future, and then Gamescom is kind of pulling it back and just focusing on the fall, or vice versa, or maybe a mix of both in each show. That tends, there's only so many ways it can go, right? So Wonder Woman doesn't fit one of those criteria, right? It's not coming out this fall. I'd be shocked if, hey, bring it on if it is, right? But if it's not, which I think it's not, it would fail that criteria, right? This is a game, as I've said, like 2025, you could have a Persona, you could have GTA, you could have Kingdom Hearts. There's a lot of games that I guess you could have. I really think Wonder Woman could happen in 2025. And that's almost a discussion for a different video, right? But no matter when it comes out, I think, and this is where I want to go with this or end this video, and this is where I think, like, people's heads are at. A big reason why they need to show it is just to show it. It doesn't matter when the game comes out. You know what I mean? That, I think, is the biggest thing with this game is you've had Gotham Knights, and Gotham Knights, upon looking back, I think people maybe have changed their opinion on it a little bit. You add Suicide Squad, and I do think there's this idea that, like, hey, DC, like, do you want to rebound? Like, do you want to try to rebound in short term? Because if you do, you can't release anything necessarily. Like, Quidditch Champions is the only thing potentially WB can put out. Multiverses, I suppose, right? So, like, Wonder Woman, just showing it off and getting some goodwill back, yeah, it's not sales. You're not making any money off that. In fact, you might lose money because I do believe you have to pay Jeff Keighley to have your game shown. I don't know that for sure for Summer Games Fest, but you do for other shows that he does. So you actually might lose money. You don't gain money. You're not selling your game. The game's then out for another year plus. I guess, why you wouldn't do it, but at the same time, I don't know, you had Suicide Squad, clearly didn't work, angered people. But, really, besides that, just didn't do well. It clearly did not work. So, and I love that they're just going to double down on that kind of strategy because that's genius of them. But I think showing Wonder Woman would be a step in the right direction. So that's where I think people's heads are at, is just, and I guess there's one other part to it, right? Number one is like the rebounding thing. Number two, and this is what I've said actually a couple times now, even this year, I want some sort of roadmap. And I know for gaming, you don't always get that. Okay, I completely understand that. But for WB and for DC, right? Like, I almost feel like you should, considering everything so far has been relatively like in-house. You know what I mean? With Marvel, there's no roadmap, but you know of like 5-6 games that are coming out, right? With DC, you technically know none besides Wonder Woman and Multiverses, which has DC properties in it, right? That's it. We know WB Montreal is working on 2 games. You know, maybe Rocksteady's working on a game. I found that job posting that seems to indicate that Monolith is working on 2 games, so maybe they're doing Wonder Woman and another DC game. There's stuff happening, but they haven't announced any of it. And I don't necessarily need a literal roadmap, but again, just to kind of like show it and say, hey, we have other stuff coming out. It doesn't have to be a war with Marvel. You don't need to have Marvel, having 5-6 games known, and DC say, okay, well, we need to compete. We need to show off 6 games. Not necessarily. I think you just have to give people, I think the word hope would be like the actual word. You're giving them hope after Suicide Squad, but you're also just kind of showing them what's to come, as I think you should do, right? Like Wonder Woman is next. It's the next thing, the next big thing, right? Whatever Montreal is working on, that would come after. If Monolith is working on 2 games, clearly Wonder Woman comes first, right? So that's where my mind is at, is just give people a little hope, give people a little bit of a confidence booster, and also steer them in the right direction of like, here's what's coming when. So I want it to happen. I mean, I feel like I'm in the top percentile, people that want this game to be shown off at Summer Game Fest. Do I have a good feeling about it? I gotta be real, I don't. And I hope I'm like reverse jinxing myself. I like to try to do that, right? Maybe if I say it's not gonna show up, then it shows up and proves me wrong. Again, I would have given it a higher than 50% chance, just my own personal opinion, right? My own prediction on it. But now that they're showing Arkham Shadow, I honestly would put it less than 50 now. I would say maybe like 20, 30, 40% likelihood. So myself personally, I will not be expecting it unless something changes, like maybe they tease it or something happens. And of course, we would talk about that if it does happen. But I am personally not going to go into Summer Game Fest expecting to see Wonder Woman. I think it makes a lot of sense. I've stood by this really this entire year. I think you have to show it in 2024. Have to. At some point. If it's not Game Fest, then you better show it at Gamescom. If it's not Gamescom, you better show it at the Game Awards. Like, truly, and it's sad that it has to all be Jeff Keighley shows, but I really think you can't let it get out of 2024 without showing this game. And also, if the game does come out next year, then it makes more sense to show it off this year, right? If the game's further out, then I guess you wouldn't show it this year, but I feel like that would also backfire on you. I don't think people would be very thrilled about that idea, right? So definitely a lot of ways it could go, I suppose. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on. I hope to see you all on the next one.